Tip number 2 of the day, I know I showed it on the screen there, but I didn't mention it, is actually doing some advanced table profiling. I'm going to bring in an additional source here. I've just got wide world importers running on my local instance. I'm just going to bring in a single table in here called sales buying groups. Grab that. Now, some of you guys may have seen this this type of thing already, that you can actually do table profiling. Again, it's really useful, but it doesn't have everything that you may or may not need. So what we can do here is, it may not be useful within Power BI by itself, but oftentimes I've needed to do table profiling. For example, if I was going to do some sort of translation or ETL and bring this data into another tool, say I was building something up in Azure and I needed to actually know my column lengths or make some useful guesses on there. SSIS used to have a really good tool for doing table profiling, but some of the cloud tools don't have that profiling ability, even though they're significantly better in other ways. Big one I want to know is my buying group name. What kind of column should I do this on? Like what's the maximum string length in there? If I don't have access to my source and I just am able to do a query dump, especially on when you're using Azure and Synapse, if you dump this into a Parquet file and then use Synapse to read it, it doesn't actually give you the table length. Parquet files don't have length metadata to their columns, so it can be a little annoying in that regard. Anyways, buying group name. So let's look at what we can do for table profiling. I'm going to go into my advanced editor here and actually show that it's really easy just to dump some of this information out. Let's go into the advanced editor there. I'm going to put a comma after my last applied step, and we'll create a new applied step. I'm just going to call this final, and then we're going to dump that final into the end here. And my last thing will be there we go. This is going to be table.profile. We'll just include this step here and say done. It's going to give me a table profile. All this does is now I've got each and every one of those columns, and now I've got some information about it. I know what the min value, the max value, what's the average, standard deviation, counts, all this kind of stuff. This is great. It still doesn't give me that max column length. So what you need to be able to do here is actually add some additional aggregating values to this type of operation. Now, if you go into the documentation for Power Query, and let me bring it up here, it says optional additional aggregates as a nullable list, and it gives no examples of what to do. This is useless in my opinion. How the heck is anybody able to use this type of information to do anything? So what you end up having to do is you actually have to give a list in Power Query, and what a list looks like, if folks may or may not have seen it, is curly braces. So we'll just add a couple of curly braces in there. I'm going to see if I can format this slightly nicer. And what you actually need to add is a list of lists. So I'm going to add another couple of curly braces. And in here, I need three objects, or three items. I need a name. What's the column name that I actually want to do my aggregation on? I need to do some sort of test of whether I need to aggregate that column, and then I need to provide the actual aggregating operation. So in here, let's say I want to do a something on a number for mode. So just another statistical function like average or mean or the median. So we're going to call this the mode. I need to give it a type checking operation. So you say each. So for each record in that column, what do I need to check it against? I'm going to go type.is. We give it the underscore to reference the value in that each statement. and we need to say what type is it, do I think it is. In this case, I'm just going to say type.number. So if that column is a number type, then I actually want to do some sort of aggregation. So let's take a look at what that aggregation is. What I could do is just say list.mode. And you'll see here, now this will give me an additional column that gives me the mode. I've just got it on this column right here. And that is my buying group name. Again, that's just an ID, so who cares? And we've got another one here. What's line 4? The last edited by. Again, who cares? Where things can get a little bit more complicated is if you actually need to do string operations. So in order for me to do some sort of string operations, first I need to take each of those values, extract the length out of it. That's going to give me a number. I need to convert that number to a list. And then I need to actually combine them and take the maximum value of that list. So that you can see it gets more and more complicated, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say I need to do another each operation. And what that is it's going to be a list.max. So I'm going to figure out what the max value in this list is. And in here, I would want to do text.length. But this is still not going to work, unfortunately, because this is going to say, well, let's go max string length. And hopefully folks can see what I'm writing there. Maybe not. This is going to give me a couple of errors here, and it's saying it can't convert the value of type list to type text. Oh, that's because I'm still comparing against a number. Let's change this to a text. Yeah. Now I've just got one error. It still can't do that. So it's fine, but what do we actually, what's going on here is that this text value that's taken in here, it needs to convert everything that's in there to a list first, then actually take the max of that list. So it can get a little bit complicated. Let's go, we're going to say list.transform. So now it's going to take a transform. This underscore here is going to refer to this each. So it's going to take each value that I get access to and then take that and transform it. And then it needs to actually do something with that transform function. And what that transform function is just that length. So again, we'll do each text dot length. And again, I realize that this is probably a little bit complicated. I'm going to, I forgot a G there. I'm going to send a really helpful blog post that I read for this topic so that you guys can follow along here and not just have to refer back to the video, even though that will be cut up for us. Now I can see that this value, the maximum string length, is going to be 41. Perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Almost. Where I say almost is if you are doing this on other pieces of data. So for example, let me just go back to this navigation step here. I've only got a single column here that is a text string. What can happen is if you do any sort of type conversion when you've entered data, or you do some other sort of manipulation of the data beforehand, it's going to actually mess around with that metadata. And so, for example, what I'll do here is I'm just going to insert a step here that converts this valid from to a text value. You know, it's perfectly fine. Just insert the step. Now it's just a text of those various dates. Perfectly fine, no issues. But when I go to the step, I would expect to actually see when I look at this valid from row, I would expect to actually see some sort of value in here. I should actually see what the max length of that string is. The problem that it runs into is that when you convert text like that, it's no longer a text type, annoyingly enough, even though I've said it's a text type. What it is a nullable text type. And where that's documented, I have no idea. Again, found a blog, followed some instructions online, and it got me where I needed to go. And you'll see now I've actually got a value in there for 27. So now I can see I know the exact length of my longest string in there for any of these purposes. So again, sometimes these types of functions can get a little bit complicated. It takes a little bit to decipher it, but in my opinion, this is one of the really, really useful functions that's out there for doing table profiling or doing data profiling in this way. So let me just show you a couple of those things. I'm going to dump these blogs in here. So this is a blog I found from the Self-Service BI blog guys, a couple of folks over in Germany. Thankfully, the blog is in English, so the link is in there. For the CRM data, there are also some additional tools that are out there that are really useful. One is called the Xrm Toolkit. It can actually build out a lot of these queries for you, or do a lot of that. It actually writes the M code for you. So you just write a blank query, dump the M code that it produces in there, and you don't have to go through the complex steps that I've done. It's just a little program installation that you may or may not have access to. And then lastly, the last piece I want to show is, here is Chris Webb's blog that gave me the data that I needed for returning those annotations from CRM data. So I'm going to toss that one in the chat as well. So hopefully you guys found this useful and are able to make some use out of it in the future. Are there any